The John Cena heel run is not living up to the hype. On paper, this should have been the best of him. A Cena heel turn, motivated by a feeling of being taken for granted, is a very interesting and clever motivation. For decades, he carried the company, consistently delivered in the main event, headlined WrestleManias, and was the most visible ambassador for the brand. However, this prolonged tenure as the man also led to significant fan fatigue. A large segment of the audience, particularly the smart demographic, began to actively boo him, regardless of his opponent or the quality of his matches. This is where the taken-for-granted aspect comes in. Despite all his sacrifices and accomplishments, the fans were apathetic and actively ungrateful. It's a good setup for a heel run, but the execution has been underwhelming at best. The first thing I saw that deflated my initial excitement after the Cena heel turn was the random presence of Travis Scott and the random presence of a mainstream celebrity like Travis Scott, who has no organic connection to the wrestling narrative or Cena's character arc, took me out of the moment when Cena turned. When a major star like John Cena, known for his long-standing good guy persona, finally turns into a bad guy, the expectation is that every element of the presentation will reinforce this new, darker character. This includes who he associates with, the music he uses, and the overall atmosphere. Travis Scott, while a huge music star, has no established connection to professional wrestling storylines or the WWE Universe. His presence was entirely out of place and random, especially at such a crucial moment in Cena's career. We want to see how Cena acts, what he says, and who he targets, not be wondering why a rapper is suddenly there. Even more perplexing, the initial involvement of The Rock as Cena's partner, only for that alliance to disappear and never be mentioned, is very confusing. The Rock in his final boss iteration has been established as a figure of immense power, pulling strings from behind the scenes as a TKO board member. When he signaled Cena to attack Cody Rhodes, it strongly implied that Cena was now under The Rock's influence or working for him. This setup instantly created a compelling dynamic that didn't go anywhere. Naturally assuming that The Rock, having orchestrated this monumental heel turn, would continue to be a driving force in Cena's new character. Cena's actions, promos, and even his motivation would presumably be tied to The Rock's agenda. When Cena then proceeded to act independently, focusing on his own grievances, e.g., with the fans, his career trajectory, without any visible connection or deference to The Rock, it undermined the very premise of his turn. Why would Cena sell his soul if it didn't mean working with or for the final boss? The initial visual of The Rock giving Cena the throat slash signal before Cena attacked Cody was powerful. It implied a conspiracy, a master manipulator, and his new corrupted protege. We expected the follow-up to explain why Cena aligned with The Rock. Was it for power? Money? To achieve his 17th World Championship, which The Rock, as a board member, could potentially facilitate. This explanation is crucial for a heel turn to be believable and for fans to invest in the new character's motivations. The Rock simply vanished, and Cena started cutting promos about his own perceived slights or failures. The why of the initial alliance became a glaring plot hole. It made The Rock's initial involvement seem like a mere shock factor rather than a foundational element of the story. The second thing that made me lose my enthusiasm for the Cena heel retirement tour was the WrestleMania 41 main event. Again, the match had immense potential, but the execution fell flat. The foundation of any great WrestleMania main event is a compelling storyline. The build to Cody versus Cena unfortunately didn't live up to expectations, especially given it was following the deeply personal, blood feud intensity that defined the Cody versus Roman match of the previous WrestleMania. Cena's promos, while attempting to be heelish, often felt like generic criticisms of the audience or his own career, rather than direct, cutting remarks against Cody's journey or character. Blaming the audience for his turn or complaining about his own past sacrifices, while potentially justifiable for Cena, quickly becomes a tired heel trope if not paired with direct, personal attacks on the face. The actual finish of the Cena-Cody match was underwhelming, notably due to the crucial expectation of The Rock's involvement and the baffling substitution of Travis Scott. It wasn't just underwhelming, it felt like a betrayal of the narrative that had been so carefully or haphazardly laid out. From the moment The Rock turned John Cena by giving him the signal to attack Cody Rhodes, a clear narrative thread was established. Cena was now The Rock's final boss, enforcer, or a key member of his shadowy alliance. Every fan watching, especially after the initial Cena heel turn, was waiting for the shoe to drop. It set up the potential for a new bloodline-esque faction, with Cena as a major player. The obvious payoff to this setup, particularly in a WrestleMania main event with high stakes, would be The Rock interfering on Cena's behalf. It would have made sense, solidified the alliance, and amplified the villainy of both Cena and The Rock. The match even provided the perfect narrative opening for interference. The referee bump. When the official went down, the arena and every viewer at home held their breath. This is the classic signal for outside interference. And with The Rock being the mastermind behind Cena's turn, his appearance was not just expected, it was practically demanded by the storytelling. What we got instead of The Rock was Travis Scott. Who is Travis Scott in this story? This was the immediate question. His presence felt entirely random, unearned, and baffling again. It broke immersion for dedicated fans who were invested in the wrestling narrative. Again. Unlike The Rock, whose interference would have solidified Cena's heel turn and the final boss faction, Travis Scott's appearance contributed absolutely nothing to the story. He wasn't there to help Cena win strategically, nor was he part of a larger plan. He was just there. It felt like a forced cross-promotional spot that utterly ignored the ongoing wrestling storyline. This was the main event of WrestleMania. Every second needed to count. This extended, irrelevant segment actively killed the flow and excitement. After all the speculation and anticipation for a Rock appearance, getting Travis Scott felt like a bait and switch. It was an anticlimactic moment that underscored the perceived lack of long-term planning for Cena's heel turn. Fans were not getting the logical culmination of the Rock-Cena storyline. They were getting a celebrity cameo that felt entirely out of place. Not to mention, Cena's sporadic appearances are actively making his heel turn worse, rather than better. A heel needs to be a constant thorn in the side of the audience and the babyfaces. They need to be present weekly, cutting promos, interfering in matches, and generally being annoying. When Cena only appears sporadically, the heat he generates simply can't simmer and grow. It's like trying to cook a meal by turning the oven on for 5 minutes every few weeks. It never truly gets hot. Fans don't have enough sustained exposure to his new persona to genuinely dislike him. His limited schedule makes it nearly impossible to craft these